But that's why I created the cash flow board game, wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, why you wrote the 10 reasons why the rich go broke, is they don't have really good financial education. And most of them are listening to people with a vested interest in selling them something.
Yes.
So before you start buying real estate when the crash comes, I would start practicing today. Any comments on that, Kim?
Well, and on top of that, if you are invested in some real estate, we never stop learning, you and I, and there's always an opportunity. That's why you mentioned the timber farms. I'm like, I don't know anything about timber farms. I'm going to find out and I'm going to learn about it. And we're going to end up buying something, I'm pretty sure, here in this year. But there's so many different avenues, and you've got to understand where the opportunity lies and what sector it lies, in what town it lies. You know, you can talk about Arizona. Well, parts of Arizona are booming and parts of Arizona are dying. So you've got to understand there's just so many nuances. And that's why we love Rich Dad World and the education and the mentoring that they give. That's why Robert and I and John are educators of financial literacy. That's why we do what we do, because, you know, I always say I can't control the US economy. I can't control the global economy, but I can control my own personal economy. That I can control. And that takes education. That sometimes takes being uncomfortable. It takes a lot of learning, and it takes a lot of mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes, all of us. So
back up what Kim says, we can all see the micro economy. We often can't see the macro because it's invisible. Because macro is historical. So every time when the Chinese government did this, they took good money and turned it fake. The Chinese were the first to print paper money. It brought down the Chinese empire. When the Romans did this, it brought this Gresham's law again. When fake money enters the system, good money goes into hiding. The Roman Empire came down. In 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. It was the end of the American empire. Gresham's law. And the problem is, 71 was quite a while ago, and all these highly educated people, especially the young financial planners, John, if they came into the market after 2008, they've never seen a bear market.
Yeah.
Am I correct on that?
They've never seen inflation. They've never seen a bear market. And this goes all the way back to the 70s, right? A lot of people born, you know, mid to late 70s, they haven't seen any of this pain and suffering that so many of us have seen. So they think it's just one big utopia. But you know, you talk about macro, and I couldn't agree with you more. And Kim, you mentioned it's mindset. I see macro as mindset. But the problem is, and we've seen this speaking around the world together, people will come up to us at these conferences and like, John, what do you think about crypto? Should I get into it? What do you think about day trading? Should I start doing that? What do you think about multi-level marketing? And they run off and without thinking the big picture, without having the mindset. And it just ends in a disaster most of the time because they haven't taken the time to really study and really learn.
And they haven't seen history, John, you know what I mean? Because,
yeah,
you know, when after Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, real estate went through the roof. Mm-hmm. And I started hearing, oh, real estate never comes down. Real estate never comes down. And my rich dad, that's what my rich dad said to me, said that a bull market or a rising market covers up people's stupidity. And so the other day, I was on a crypto phone call, and I was talking to this young guy, and he knows everything. He said to me, stable coins and Bitcoin will never come down. That's a smart person who's about to get educated. And 3 days later, stable coins, that one, I don't know what the name of it, went to nearly zero. But when you have these young people who haven't seen history, like I go all the way back to the Chinese Empire, the Roman Empire, I studied all of that. Every time they take real money and make it fake money, it's Gresham's law, the empire collapses.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, America's about to collapse because China now got away from the fractional reserve system. You know, they don't want to use the US dollar. That's a little bit beyond most. And Russia's going to back they reported the ruble with gold. They're going to screw the US dollar. So the question is, who's going to pay off the 300 trillion in US debt? They said debt is 30 trillion, it's really 300 trillion.
Mhm.
They're going to have to pay that off. America's bankrupt because we just violated Gresham's law. We started printing money. So for me, I think this is going to be a great opportunity, because exactly Kim says, when the shopping centers go down, office buildings go down, who's going to fill them up?
Yeah.
And as Buckminster Fuller said, my teacher, he says the biggest office buildings in the world will become low-income housing.
Yeah.
So that's how you see the future. That's why you have Rich Dad's World. But you better start practicing now before the crash.
I agree. And you know, also because sometimes it's unknown and it's unfamiliar, people want to make up a lot of excuses. The latest excuse I've heard over and over and over for the last few months is, oh, I'm not going to buy because interest rates are up. Interest rates are up to what? 5% maybe, if even? I mean, that's still low. Robert, when I started real estate investing, you started before me. When I started, I think interest rates were like 13, and we still cash flowed.
Well, this is the point, ladies and gentlemen, because this is macro, not micro. Look, let's say this. Let's say the Fed keeps printing, which it probably will.
Mhm.
Interest rates, let's say, are 8%, because we're buying stuff at 9 and 12%. But if inflation, let's make it easy. Let's say inflation is running at 10%. I mean, interest rates are 10%, but inflation is at 20. I'd buy all day long at 10. I take loans out at 10 all day long. But Kim and I have the experience.
Mhm.
And that's Rich Dad's World. So no, I don't care about the interest rates. I want to know about inflation. So Rich Dad's World is here for you, but you better start preparing today. You're going to be a pro golfer. Don't start the day you tee off, right, Kim?
That's right. That takes a lot of practice.
A lot of
A lot of
practice.
mistakes, lots of mistakes.
Well, just adding to that, you know, the sort of the overarching theme of my book and what I talk about is that learning from people's successes is smart, but learning from people's mistakes is genius. As I always tell people, and this is an unpaid endorsement, it's all about mindset. And if they want to get serious about their financial life, I always say play the cash flow game. That really sets the context in place for you then to take the next step and become, you know, financially free and independent and get off that paycheck, get off living on Pain Island. So that's where I leave it. And I just think programs like this and Rich World and the books, it's so important, especially now with what's going on, because we are in unprecedented territory and it's only going to get worse. Now's the time. You've got to get prepared. And the last thing I'll say is we talk about mentorship. That I don't think there's anything more important than having a mentor or mentors. Even the greatest athletes in the world have coaches and mentors. So no matter who you are, you've got to get a mentor. And this program is an ideal mentor as one of your coaches.
You know, there are so many changes every day. You wake up and you go, oh, it can't get any crazier than this. And it gets crazier that day. But when you look around, and you can look around just in your neighborhood, look in your street, you'll see all these trends that are changing. I mean, here we are on Zoom. You're in different parts of the country and we're all on Zoom. Opportunities there. You know, everybody wants delivery. That's why Robert and I were looking at warehousing. So education, oh my God, if you can crack the education code, because the schools, we all know now, the schools are a mess. Kids aren't learning what they need to be learning. So there is a lot of opportunity if you've got the skill set and the knowledge and the experience to take advantage of it. And again, that's what Rich Dad World is all about. Kind of training your brain to see opportunities where before you'd miss them. I think.
And Kim, if you could get a 20% return on 10% interest,
all day long.
And that's why when people say, oh, interest rates are 10%, I want to know what inflation's running at.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more macro.
Yeah.
So that's a different way. What John calls mindset's a different way of thinking. This is the most exciting time to be alive. So at the end of this, we have Rich Dad's World coming on. They're going to be talking about opportunities you can learn from them, from real coaches. because I had a coach, Kim and I had a great coach, and Frank, John had his father as great coaches. One of the reasons people are poor is their coaches are poor, but poor people from poor families have poor coaches. And it's just tragic. So we didn't have Rich Dad's World. If you don't change your hands and thinking, then you'll wind up like poor people. And I hate to say it again, poor people have poor coaches. So please listen to what Rich Dad's World has to offer. And thank you all for watching this program on Rich Dad's World.